I'm going to start off with a little bit of a game. I call it the first word game. I'm going to name some players in the squad, and I want you to think of the first word that comes to mind when you think of this player.
Okay.
Kieran Trippier.
Warrior.
John Stones.
Silky.
Bukayo Saka.
Lovely.
Yes, I like that one. Declan Rice.
Elegant.
Trent Alexander-Arnold.
Talented.
Jack Grealish.
Fun.
I like that. And Harry Kane.
Reliable.
Nice. Let's now talk a little bit about some of the new call-ups that have happened over the weekend. I'm interested to know what you saw in those three players, Cole Palmer, Rico Lewis and Ezri Konsa, that made you think these are the kind of three players that I think deserve the call-up to your squad.
Yeah, I would say slightly different rationale for all, in that Ezri is definitely a centre-back we've been tracking very closely, and we feel he's been very close to being called in the last few camps. I think his form under Unai has been excellent. He has developed a lot, taking more responsibility with the ball. Team are playing well, clearly. So he's in. We've lost centre back in Lewis Dunk. He's the next one in. That's been a little bit different with Cole and Rico, in that Cole obviously is playing wide, but also can play as a 10. And we've lost Jude and we've lost James Maddison. So that versatility, as well as his form, and the fact that he's a player we haven't worked with before, and it's a good opportunity to see him. And similarly with Rico, he's adaptable, can cover a couple of different positions, a player we haven't worked with. So with those two boys, of course, there's an opportunity to be with us, to stay with us, and to push a claim for next summer. And
just going back to Cole Palmer, there's a lot of excitement around him and the player that he could be. And what have you made of his transition to Chelsea, and what kind of player do you think he could become?
Yeah, well, we spent quite a bit of time last summer with the under-21s, so we were obviously observing that group very closely. You get a sense of their personality, but definitely their quality, what they can bring to the team. So we knew, for example, from some of the finishing practices we saw, what an outstanding finisher with either foot he is. What he's shown since the move, definitely the mentality to play at a big club. You know, Chelsea's a big club, as City are. As you rightly point out, to take those penalties is a test of character as well as quality, and that's a good sign, in that he's been prepared to take up under real pressure and show great composure.
There's a perception amongst a lot of England football fans regarding yourself that your team reflects you, and the perception amongst a lot of those football fans is cautious, safe, defensive, don't concede first, try to score second.
In the last two qualifying campaigns, we've been the top scorers in Europe. In the World Cup, we were the highest scorers per game. Obviously, we didn't have as many games as Argentina and France. So I think there's been moments where, you know, at the start of the journey with this team, we had less attacking options. We didn't have experienced defenders at international level, and we felt, for example, in Russia, a back five was the best route to go. As new players emerge, it changes the way that you might be able to play. But I think top football matches are always decided at both ends in the penalty boxes. And you've got to be able to defend well as a team, as well as attack. In the biggest matches, you need to be outstanding at both ends of the pitch.
These games coming up, the remaining fixtures you have leading up to next year's Euros in Germany, what is it that you're looking for in these games? England have qualified now. Are you trying to work out how to hone as close to your 11, so come game one of the Euros, you know, and your team know, as in the rest of the staff that work behind the scenes, know that is 10 of our 11 that's going to start game one?
We had a meeting last Tuesday as a coaching team. We put down probable starting team for the first match this week, and within a few days, a couple of, that had been completely turned on its head. So therefore you have to know the succession plan, if you like, in each position. That's why we travel the country watching everybody really closely. We know the players inside out, we know what they can and what they can't do. And then you're trying to find the right balance of the team. So yes, there are some players we'd like to learn a bit more about, but the core of the group, even now for the Euros, I think we'd be pretty clear on. But you can lose 2 or 3 players, and with us, the key is, I think in the past, when England lost 1 or 2 key players before tournaments, there was a huge crisis. We've got to be about the team, not about one individual making the difference, because you have to be able to cope with not being with a good player when it comes to the big games.
I don't know if you've seen, but England are the bookmakers' favourites to win the Euros next summer. Can we talk about pressure a little bit? Because I speak to a lot of England fans in my job. And a lot of England fans say to me that they think the reason we've not won a tournament since '66 isn't because of personnel and talent. It's not because of having had top managers, we have. It's the inability to deal with the pressure and the key games and the key moments. Now being favourites, but also the standard you've set the nation for what they expect from this England team. How do you deal with the pressure going to Germany next year and delivering in those key moments, if that is the fair accusation, that it's those key pressure moments England don't deliver? What are you doing, and how do you ensure that the players, when they're under pressure, still deliver and can win the Euros next summer?
Well, in the end, winning big matches is all about pressure. To play for England, you have to be able to handle that. So that's never changed. And I think the nice thing now is that I think we have a real problem with pressure is where expectation doesn't meet reality. And for a long time, I think the reality of where we've been as teams compared to the expectation has had a big gap, because in matches against the big nations we haven't won many. We've just put back-to-back wins against Italy. It's 74 years since we did that, so there's been a lot of pressure, but I'm not quite sure why, because we haven't been very good for quite a while. That's slightly unfair to everybody that's played and managed over the last few years, but I was one of those players, so we haven't been able to deliver. But the team now have clearly been to a semi-final, they've been to a final, a quarter-final where we lost to the number 1 ranked team in the world. So we have belief that the team can play against the big nations. That you can only get true belief by evidence and results, and I think that's what the public will be seeing. So the pressure is always going to be there. It's neither here nor there, really. It's about performing, it's about concentrating on the things that we can affect. What the bookmakers make of it, they're just putting the odds so they don't lose much money, so whatever's going to cost them the most money, they change the odds.
What does Jude Bellingham and Harry Kane playing in Germany and Spain do for you, and how can that benefit the England team come next summer?
Well, I think firstly, for any young man or woman, going and working abroad, living in a different environment is great life experience. You're going to develop as a person, as a human being. You've got to adapt, you've got to learn a new language, you've got to experience different cultures. You're adapting to a different style of football, perhaps, different coaching ideas. So I think you become a more rounded individual. And I think if you have more rounded, more mature individuals, you have a better team. So for us, those experiences, also it takes some of the mystique away from some of the players they're playing against every week that in the old days we didn't see regularly. They can see the strengths but also the weaknesses of those players, so they seem more human. And they love coming back to play for England. It's a little bit different playing abroad and coming home to play. There's a slightly different dynamic, but it brings energy to the group because there's new stories. The rest of the players want to know what's it like, and so there's a lot of sharing goes on. And as you rightly say, both have adapted brilliantly to that, to the new clubs, the new leagues, and they're in really good form. Bit early for us, but hopefully they can continue.